Half the season's gone, and the dust is starting to clear. Records tell one story, but management tells another. Drafts, trades, free agents, injuries, all part of the grind, so buckle up. It's time to find out who's for real and who's just been lucky. Let's break it down. It's time for the ultimate rankings. Sean's on top, yeah, the scoreboard loves his name, but is it skill or is it luck or just that fantasy flame? Clinton, Ben, they're rolling, sitting high in the charts, but we've seen paper champions crumble, fall apart. Jay and Adam, talent's there, no doubt in the show, but if they wanna be elite, they gotta let that fire grow. One wrong lineup, one missed waiver claim could be the move that takes them right out of the game. Rank 'em up, break it down, where do you stand tonight? Records fade, but legends rise from how you fight. Who's got the guts? Who's making the plays when the mid-season mirror don't lie today? From the bottom to the top, we reveal it all. The ultimate rankings, who will fall? Yo, John, Jeremy, Ian, stuck right in the gray. Average Owen banners, boys, you gotta find a way. It's crunch time now, no more halfway plans. Start your studs, swing your trades, take your stand. A spark could turn a season, yeah, we've seen it before, but time's ticking fast. Can you even the score? Don't be the team that says we almost had it made, while the playoff line fades away like yesterday's trash. Take Josh and Desmond, it's been rough. Need win streak magic, gotta play tough. Still a lot of football, don't hang your head. Cinderella stories aren't just for the dead. And will, oh will, one lonely win in your hand. The 8-ball says no, but we all understand. Fantasy's cruel, the gods don't play fair, but hate is pride to fight for, if you still care. Do you have what it takes? Can you fix your roster before your season breaks? Because it's not about the record, it's about the grind. About how you manage, how you find that shine. The season's halfway, the stage is set, but legends ain't crowned, not yet. Play smart, play bold, no fear, no flanks. This is fantasy football, and these are the ultimate rankings.
And just like we promised, one more video before we start the new week. Like we said, 7 weeks down, 7 weeks to go. As we're at the halfway point, not only are we gonna, recap what we saw last week and our predictions for the next week, but you know what? Let's take a few minutes and let's look at kind of where we're at so far. Like the song called out, right? Ultimate rankings that we'll talk about here. And we'll take a look, a little deep dive, team by team, and so on, or the midseason rankings, or however you want to look at it, and so on. So here's what we did. It won't be a long video, but we're going to go over a couple of things. One, we're going to take a deep dive into each team and give you a ranking. We said before, a ranking and a grade. You know what? I mean, based on where you ranked 1 through 12, you can kind of tell what grade, I guess, you're going to get. So we just went with the rankings. But we're not just looking at the records. We're looking at, team management. So I can tell you right now, if we look at the rankings, and we've already talked about it, we know who's 1, we know who's 12. Sean, he didn't rank number 1. And if we scroll down, Will, he didn't rank number 12. Everything's jumbled up a little bit based on, again, much more than just records. And I will say before we jump into it, don't get mad on how this video goes. If we call you out, somebody's going to have to be 12 or 11, not everybody can be in the top 6. And then once we get to the rankings part, we're going to pick our new playoff projections. And the same thing, there's 12 teams, only 6 can make the playoffs. So 6 of you are going to be hurt and all mad. But honestly, look at your damn records. You should really know when it comes to the playoff predictions, probably where you're at. If you're on the outside looking in, or if I'm going to pick you to be in. So, all right, let's jump in. Before, though, we get into these rankings 1 through 12, I want to take a look at the draft and kind of go back to the day of the draft and a little bit of the conversation afterwards. And if you remember, right after the draft, I believe that next day I ran every team through AI and had them analyze and pick, and they gave predictions, and I didn't go back and fully look at exactly 1 through 12, but I remember, because I remember I was one of those teams picked to be towards the top. So was Clint. But ultimately, the team that I liked the best, right, was Jeremy's team. Because if we look at it, he went young, he went rookies, but high upside. And if you kind of look at it now with Genty and Henderson, at the time we thought that was going to be huge for him. And here we are, halfway through the season, and of course it hasn't turned out that way as of yet. But a few other things to note. I kind of like to look at like how the draft went. Bijan, Chase, Lamb, Jefferson. Yeah, I mean, how it right at the time frame should have gone, and really still for the most part. Yes, there's been a lot of injuries and so on that's kind of played a part into, and quarterback changes and all that good stuff. But the top four were pretty solid. But after that, it was the next two, and the reason I remember it so much is because I was sitting here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I had the 7th pick, and I remember I wanted Henry, I wanted Genty, I didn't want McCaffrey at all. Every mock draft, I wasn't going to get these two. I was going to have to take next available, and I didn't want to do it. And then when the draft came, I'm like, fine, I'm going to take McCaffrey. I'm going to hold my breath, and hopefully he stays healthy. And knock on wood, he has as of so far. But we just go back to that, right? Because, Jake with Henry, he had one good week and then has been kind of on the downside. Genty, same story, right? Had one really good week and then has been kind of down. And just think if either of those two would have taken McCaffrey, the season definitely would have been different. So, but again, just wanted to point it out. We can kind of look at, who had the stronger teams when it came to even before the season started. Again, they picked Clint. We called out Sean. I know Sean had a lot of good keepers on there. Clint had good keepers as well on there. We really liked Jeremy's team. We did say, I just remember saying Jay was going to struggle because he didn't pick running backs until late based on keepers and so on. But then his running backs ended up being decent for him. That was just kind of some things that kind of stood out from the draft. And why that's important, that kind of ties in a little bit to what we're going to talk about here. So let's get into it. And we're not going to start with number 1. We'll start with 12. And again, we're going to make a note, somebody's got to be 12, 11, 10. Somebody's going to be in the middle. Somebody's going to be mad. That's why we do this, right? So, all right, let's start with 12. And if we scroll down, it's not Will. Again, this is on team management. This is on draft. This is on what you've done throughout the season. And so I'm kind of looking at all of it. But I'm going to rank and say our 12th team, our worst team, as being Jake. And I know Jake right now is ranked 9th. He's 2-5. But if you kind of look at it, Jake's on cruise control. I mean, he has Henry. We just talked about it. Could have been McCaffrey, but it wasn't. He hasn't had any waiver or any fab usage at all. Has not gone aggressive with picking up free agents. Again, like I said, just kind of on cruise control. Where could his team be if he would have drafted different, or if he would actually be picking up some free agents? He probably would be in a better spot. But here we are. He's not. So that's number 12. Who do I feel's at number 11? You should feel good at being 11, right? Because I didn't pick you at number 12. I didn't say you were as bad in this league management as Jake. But number 11, I say, is Josh. Josh, same record as Jake, 2-5. That's on there. He's used a little bit more fab. He's tried to be a little bit more aggressive. But the reason I put him there is he's very Jacksonville dependent. And, kicker, for example, I just remember on the draft, right? If I remember right, Josh had the first kicker off the board. Cam Little, who had that 70-yarder in preseason, and we were all excited about what he was going to do. Josh went ahead and took him early, and he hasn't lived up to definitely preseason at all. But there's also a lot of Jacksonville players on his team, which that team is up and down. And for the most part, there's been a lot of weeks where there's been more down than up. And I feel like that, maybe if Josh wouldn't have drafted with this heart on the team that he roots for, maybe things would have been different. So that's why I put him at 11. Number 10, here we go. Here's Will. He is 1-6. The reason I didn't put him at the very bottom at 12 is because, he's trying. He had a decent draft. I felt pretty good with his team off the board. He had Barkley and Higgins, and he went young on some of that, and then Mixon and so on. But man, he got hit with some injuries when Burrow went down, which then of course hurt Higgins. Barkley didn't perform, where he ended up trading him away. So I felt pretty good about his team to start with. And then he went ahead and did a trade, with Dez. So he was really, really trying. He has used some fab money on there. So pretty average where everybody else is. So, he's trying. He's trying week to week, and just fortunately, the wins aren't coming his way. So there you go. There's number 10. Number 9, I've got Ian. Now, Ian, we can kind of look at his team a little bit on here. He's also, everybody has, right, dealt with injuries and so on. Yeah, Neighbors being a big one. He's had to battle through it. But the man's been all over the place. We make fun of it every single week that he can score points, and then some weeks he can't find anywhere to score points. So he's definitely been all over the place. He really needs running back help. If he would be searching for a trade, or maybe if possibly put in a trade or two or completed one so far, I probably would have moved him up higher in the rankings. But as of right now, I think he's just trying to set in his team, hope for the best, being at 3 and 4. But I just don't think that's going to be enough to get him where he needs to be. And we'll find that out when we talk about playoff predictions here, as I think I just pretty much stated that I don't believe Ian's going to be in the playoff race or be in the playoffs when it's all said and done. So there you go. There's number 9. Number 8, Dez. Dez, like we said, pulled off a huge trade with Will. He's trying. Sitting here number 11. I said he's number 8. He's 2 and 5. But AJ Brown's been a bummer all year, and expectations and what he's not. He hasn't been scoring up to, what he should be week after week. And I'm sure Dez has kind of looked at that, and you can't sit him, but there's probably waiver wire pickups that could have scored more points on certain weeks. And I'm sure he knows that. The man knows his team. So Bowers being out. So again, dealing with injuries. He's also got some young players. He did a big trade with Will, which is what has put him up, higher in the rankings. So there you go. There's 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Number 7, ultimately, right, if we count the top 6 as being playoff predictions, or, at least top 6 being in that playoff hunt, this team would be the first one we'd say would be out of the playoffs. Not necessarily when we get into our predictions, but it's just based on our rankings. But number 7 is myself. And I know I said in the last video, I'm definitely not going to put myself very high when it looks at this. Yeah, I'm 3rd. Yeah, I'm 5 and 2. But man, I've used a lot of fab. I've reached for a lot of free agents, hoping for the best. A lot of them have not worked out. I've also been very, very lucky. A lot of the teams that I play against don't score many points. Therefore, I've gotten some fairly easy wins of myself only scoring, barely in the hundreds. And so on. So I know second half of the season, that's probably going to change. And so that's why I rank myself as the 7th best team here midway through the season. Number 6, I'm saying that's Jay. Felt really good about Jay's draft. I think he's had some really good pickups. I kind of think he's on cruise control as of right now as well. Haven't seen, at least not for, he hasn't reached out to me at all about, any draft. I think he's really just sitting on his team, waiting for hopefully Chase to be more consistent, waiting to get Lamar back. He's got, some younger, Scatterboo and so on, just waiting for him to, hopefully get even more involved in the offense and being consistent for Jay. So I think Jay's another team. Like I said, Jake was on cruise control, but Jay's in a way better spot with a way stronger team. Give him to be number 6. Number 5. John, you should be happy. I picked you in the top 5 at least. So I put John on there. John right now, is ranked 6th, 4 and 3. He did a trade. We made fun of him a little bit for it, but as we saw last week, it helped his team. And ultimately, that's what's important, right? You want to get wins at any cost. So the man put a trade through. He also has not used a lot of the fab. He's got $80 left. But the reason I'm putting him so high and above some of the other teams that are kind of in that mix on there is that this man has passion. I love the way that he listens to these videos and then he instantly goes to Messenger and bitches and complains and gets all mad at what I have to say about his team. But you know what, John? It's pushing you. It's fueling that fire. And right now you're sitting at sixth, in sixth spot in playoff position. I don't want to take credit for that. You've got a little bit to do with it yourself, but I love the man's passion behind it, and I'm putting him as number 5 as of right now. So number 4, I'm picking Jeremy. I know Jeremy's ranked 7th on here. He's also 3 and 4, tied with Ian, down towards the bottom part. But again, he had a great draft. He's got rookies. I feel like the rookies, maybe not all of them, but Genty, their season's got to turn around, right? Jeremy's starting to win some games now. He's starting to figure it out. He's battling through and getting through injuries. I think he's done a great job with, one, again, the draft. He's also very adamant with trying for trades. I know I've rejected 3 or 4 of his trades that he sent to me before, but he's trying to see what he can wheel and deal to make his team better. So I'm putting him in the 4th spot as of right now. So there you go. We have 3 spots left, and of course 3 teams we haven't talked about. Number 3, I'm putting Clint. Clint has not used a ton of fab, just like a few others on there. I've got very little usage. Yeah, he's got $91 left, but he had a great draft. He had really good keepers. He's tied for the best record in the league, so he's definitely up there. And then at number 2, and this was really close between these two, I put Sean, who had a same story, right? Great draft, great keepers, both Sean and Clint poised to be, the top when everything is said and done on here. But again, we're not looking at just the standings and the records. We're talking about team management as well. So there you go, number 2 and number 3. So let's recap before we call number 1. So we put then, we'll say number 2 on. So number 2, Sean. Number 3, Clint. Number 4, Jeremy. Number 5, John. Number 6, Jay. Number 7, myself. Number 8, Dez. Number 9, Ian. Number 10, Will. Number 11, Josh. And dead last for team management, we said number 12 was Jake. So who haven't we called yet? We've already talked. If you look it up here, right, we've already said Sean, Clint, myself, Jay. They've all been mentioned already. Well, the one team we haven't talked about yet, and I'm putting as our number 1 team so far in our mid-season rankings, and that's Adam. I feel really good about Adam's team. We did preseason before we all started. He started very strong. Him and Sean were 2 of the undefeated teams. And then, the man dealt with injuries. Who hasn't, at this part of the season? But he's still going strong. He's putting in trade attempts. Another team that I've had to deny or say no multiple times to a few different trade requests on there. He's been pretty aggressive with just like what Sean's doing, trying to make his team a little bit better. Maybe not necessarily for today, but for the future. He's also been pretty, he's been using his fab dollars pretty aggressively as well. And Adam's just one of those. He's you always see he's always moving around. He's always really working on his team. And again, from a team management standpoint, I think right now Adam is doing the best job with what he has with his team, and that's why I'm giving him the number 1 spot. So there you go. There's our midseason rankings, the ultimate rankings, whatever you want to call it, 1 through 12 as of right now. And what does that tie into? Of course, that ties into our playoff predictions. So 6 teams, I'll say will make it. 6 teams, of course, will not. We've got some just misses. I've got 2 that are on there. We'll say that. Let's name a few first, and then we'll talk about that. So the 2 teams that we think are for sure locks to get in, right? Number 1 and number 2 as of right now, both with a 6-1 record. Like we said, 8 wins should get you in. It should be very easy for Sean and Clint to make the playoffs, just based on already what they've done. And there's just a damn good chance that they're going to end up playing at least 2 teams throughout the year who are going to way underperform. They're going to get a couple of easy wins. They're going to make the playoffs. So they're, for sure, I feel like they will be in. Same with myself. I know I didn't give myself a a very great team ranking of performance and so on, and management, being the 7th spot. But it's kind of the same thing. I'm 5-2. I really only need 3 more wins. And, so 3-4 puts me in. Even if I go 2 wins, I've got favorable points against some of the other teams that would be looking, towards that 6th spot and so on. So I think just by default, by record, 5-2 at this point of the season, I'm going to say that I make the playoffs as well. I'm also going to pick Jeremy. We just talked about, how I feel still really good about Jeremy's team. And I think that he is going to micromanage that team and still make it into the playoffs. So there you go. There's your 4 teams so far. Number 5 on here, I say it's Jay. Still, again, we just talked about it, right? I ranked him, as the 6th, managed team, but I think he's got a really good team. He's on cruise control. He's going to get back through some injuries and make that. So there you go. We've got 5 so far. Sean, Clint, myself, Jeremy, and Jay. The just misses, I say Dez. Just misses. I actually, I said, I think in a prediction video that I think he's going to go on a mini win streak and, come really close to making the playoffs. The issue is, though, is I just happened to look into next week for Dez. And if we take a look at it, the man's whole team is on bye week. So that's what I actually felt like with Barkley, Judkins, Brown, all on bye weeks. That's going to be tough to overcome. So I had to say that Dez is just, I can't pick him to win probably next week, no matter who he picks up and puts in their place. So I think he's just going to fall probably a win short or so of making the playoffs. The next one, just miss. Again, fuel for the fire, because that's what we do here, right, John? I think John just misses the playoffs as well. He's 4-3. He's right now in, but I think, up and down season so far. It's going to continue. He made that trade. There's going to be multiple weeks that he wishes he still had Jefferson based on some of the points that he puts up. But I think ultimately John's going to end up being, I think he'll be the first one out. I think he'll finish the season ranked 7th, 7-7, and just missed out on points to whoever finishes 6th. So that means then if they're not in, and Sean, Clint, myself, Jeremy, and Jay are all in, then who else is in? Well, that's Adam. I picked him as the number 1 team manager. I feel that, he is going to have one hell of a second half of the season. He's going to do the best he can, again, with what he has. He's going to work through those injuries, work through the waiver wire. I feel like he's going to do whatever he needs to do to get his team for sure into the playoffs. So there you go. There's your 6 teams that make the playoffs. So, all right, before we end the video, we've got something special. What's funny we've been putting all of this info into AI, right? And of course, it's all on my laptop. So it's, can easily pull it up and get a recap of everything that I've been putting into it now for multiple weeks based on, who won, who lost, who we're making fun of, and so on. So what I decided to do is I went to AI here, ChatGPT. That's the one that we use, and just say, hey, we've got a team that's 1-6. Poor Will, dead last. Chances of making the playoffs are very slim. Could you just go ahead and create a song about Will's season so far? And, we'll put it in the Suno app, which we did, and we made a song dedicated to Will and his being 1-6. For fun, I think it turned out pretty good. Will, I think you're going to love it. So when you're watching this video and you get to the end part here, I'm going to tell you to put it on speaker, turn it up nice and loud, and listen to the recap of how your year has gone so far.
Will wakes up Monday morning, checking stats with horror in his eyes. Last night's hopes and tatters, once so high, now he just sighs. He drafted champions, made bold calls, built his fantasy dream. But the scoreboard laughs at him, nothing's ever what it seems. stone, winning quarterbacks. He stacked those running backs. He thought he'd ride to glory, green lights on every track. But injuries hit like thunder, bye weeks stole the course, and every matchup slipped away, every win turned into war. Oh, Will, can you hear the echoes of the off-season hype? You sat through mock draft, you plotted every type, but the league laughs and the margins thin. Your hope's the flame, but it's burning. You're running on empty. This ride's changing and bend. The played out lineup's burning. The promises you sent. Will, you're fighting for nothing against the weekly tide. Fate is the king turned to broken. In your own struggle you'll hide. You watched your rivals flex their stacks, touchdowns raining in their laps. Your roster's just a ghost of hope as waiver wires mock your traps. You screamed at busts and bench mistakes. Your pride took the nails. Still you log back in next week, chasing hollow trails. Oh, Will, the countdown's ticking, playoff dreams fade away. You promised yourself redemption, but you're stuck in the fray. The scores keep climbing, your points stay low, but you keep pushing, you can't let go. You're running on empty. This ride's staging and bend. The played out lead-up's burning. The promises you sent. Will, you're riding for nothing against the weekly tide. For the king to the broken. In your own struggle you hide. Toddy built an empire with draft day might, but now it's just ashes under Sunday lights. Every risk he took, every matchup he planned, slipped through his fists like water, fade into man. Yet he's not done, he throws again, battle scarred, blooded, ready for the end. You're running on empty. This ride shaking and bend. The played out lean-up's burning. The promises you send. Will, you're fighting for nothing against the weak retide. That his king turned to broken. In your own struggle you hide. You'll climb back from ashes, you'll rise through the pain. The league may have laughed at you, but you'll fight to stand again. Then stares at the scoreboard, wounded but still alive. He drafts again next season, he'll give it one more try. Because the struggle made him stronger, the losses forged his pride, and in the realm of fantasy he will return, revive.